No, my positions are not about men versus women, although the gender war, as it is called, is part of this undeclared war like no other. I've repeatedly stated that masculine and feminine attributes coexist within us all, and there's only biology, nature, hormones, which establishes the potential of either within the given type. Similarly, intelligence is found in many species, and we only discuss it as it relates to degree and comparatively. All value judgments are comparisons after all, and they are not about absolute values. So when I speak of feminization, I mean within the entire human species and not only males. It is more pronounced and obvious in males because of their sexual role and the potential being thwarted. That is to say that there are many females in the upper 10% range who far exceed the average mediocre male in both intelligence and masculine thinking. And this does not necessarily mean that they are lesbians, especially in this era where feminization has taken over like 4 generations already. Has had an effect over 4 generations. We notice that there is a convergence between males and females, which was not so in the past. There is no masculinization of females, but some would like there to be. Firstly, because the masculine attributes are undesirable by the system, wanting to establish dominion and internal harmony. Why would a system choose a sex which is confrontational, challenges, questions, is anti-authoritarian, is disruptive? It can be violent. Secondly, because what we observe is but a symbolic representation of masculinity, once the actual masculine essence has been suppressed, we witness this taking on of symbolic masculine emblems to replace the actual degradation of the masculine essence. Putting on pants or a gun does not make you male. This to those who pretend to be above appearances and still use them to pretend that they are what they are not. You cannot put on a garment and use this appearance, this fabrication, as a replacement for your actual appearance, which is underneath that garment. Masculinity is not about big muscles or a big cock or being macho. But in these days where it has been diminished, we do get these hyper-masculine displays, most often from those who are the most emasculated and effete and feminized, those who are trying to compensate for their own emasculation, or from women who are trying to pretend to be men, because when the masculine energy diminishes, the void left over has to be filled in by something. Masculinity is a way of dealing with the world. It is the dominance of the feminine in one's own self. It is the overcoming of resentment, of hate for nature, for all that makes you possible as you are, not as you hope you could be, or as you project yourself as someone you should be. Being masculine is knowing yourself, your past, as much as this is possible. This is where the know thyself comes in. And more importantly, accepting it as necessary, as something which could not have been otherwise. This power over self, this self-discipline, this order of becoming is what the effeminate, the effete, the emasculated both admire because they are attracted to it viscerally, or are terrified by, being intimidated and being made to feel insecure before its energy. This energy cannot be faked. We live in a world of growing stupidity as the decline of masculinity and all that made creativity, innovation possible declines. Philosophy, science, after all, is a challenging of the status quo. It is a thinking outside of the box. It is a refusal to take authority at face value. It is the challenging of authority. That's what science, which was birthed in philosophy, is. That's what philosophy is. It's the challenging of authority. We see it in the arts, this decline. We see it in pop music, in films, in artistic expression in general. We see this obsession with love, with lust, as part of this feminization. We're becoming bonobo-like, docile. The benefit is that there's less conflict, internal conflict. The cost is there's less growth, there's less challenge, there's less interest. There is more uniformity, and so there's less divergence. All we know now amongst the most emasculated populations is this regurgitation, recycling of previous creativity. We see it especially in the movies, where we get this steady flow of movies that have been done or redone, or now they're remaking these comic books, these childish replacement for myth comic books. Why does the East still take Western innovations to produce more efficiently and at a lower cost? Because there, due to Buddhism and their overpopulation, emasculation has had a longer period to have an effect. We see there the future of Western man. All work and no play, but also this mindless creative obsession with uncreative obsession with productivity and remaining within the social boundaries. Although the MRA may cheer, along with feminists, at the demise of traditional man, or so they hope, this also means the end of innovation, creativity, art, thinking, outside the box, growth, intellectual growth. Will machines take over this as well? Perhaps. But then, can we speak about men and women, let alone about the human species? Can we, at that point, think of ourselves as human and not just as those who maintain machines, asexual creatures, just there to service machines? Irony of ironies. Those who identify with the category human then denounce the subcategories of female male as overgeneralizations or as superficial. What is human if not a species designation? What is species if not a sexually based category? To associate yourself with the concept of human while at the same time rejecting the concept of male and female is the epitome of hypocrisy and of selective reasoning, if not of total stupidity. The sexual subcategory, which describes the category human, cannot be erased just because they feel like it. The moment you identify with the species label, you must accept the specialized forms of it, or else you must dismiss all as being superficial. Furthermore, the term race is also sexually based, for it describes a divergence produced when a period of genetic isolation created the conditions necessary to splinter off a branch in the species tree. It does not matter how far along it got, or if it did not result in a total splintering, as in the case of tiger and lion, or ass and horse, but that it was sufficient to create a divergence which is obvious just by appearances, not only in appearance, for this would imply a mind-body dichotomy. If we say that appearance is other than essence, then what we're saying is that mind or body is other than mind. If the fairy tale demands that man is exempt, then reasons must be given other than the vague man is too complex, which is more a product of circumstances rather than a prerequisite. We can't say that man is some kind of mysterious spiritual entity, whereas other species are not. This is a Christian position. Add to this the basic evolutionary method of speciation, the reality outside social excuses of racial differences in performance in all fields, and you must be delusional to deny this fact of racial diversion. But when uniformity is the goal, then blinding the mind and containing it within moral and social conventions is the best way to create the socially desirable retard. Parable of the zombie. Mindless consumerism, the brainless appetites of materialism and hedonism unleashed in a population turned into a thoughtless, instinctive herd. We see the symptoms in the US, where this infection has been the most successful, having nothing to slow its spread down, like culture, or a shared heritage, or family. To fight the disease of materialism and hedonism, we have popular zombie films suggesting one must make oneself ill in order to protect himself from the worst. It is sickness that can preserve the individual from illness, and the all-consuming parasitism of zombies. The individual is either a mindless eating instinctive machine rotting because time is generating it, or it surrenders to the collective, finding identity in the mass, sacrificing self to a greater self, which never grows old and never presumably rots. But the zombies can recognize their own kind, and so when infected, the one who just committed suicide is recognized by the mindless flesh eaters as one of their own, as fellow nihilists. To save yourself from zombification, you must commit suicide. Give yourself a terminal disease so that not even the zombies will touch you. They will smell your disease in your sweat and recognize it as their own. There is no nutritional value in dead, in rotting flesh. The internal civil war continues. The dualistic lines make sure no alternative enters the fight. One is either a mindless mass of need, obsessed with satisfaction, or one kills oneself and becomes part of an ideal self. Humanity, it is called, where one's mindlessness will at least never die. We continue to see the Cold War dynamics still in play. This internal war over hearts and minds, where both sides are offering a different variant of the same dis-ease, of the same nihilism. We've had to hide in corners, muffle our human words with grunts and shuffling, coming out only in the daytime when they sleep. Because when they get a smell of you as healthy blood, their hunger for it takes over, and they come salivating and dry-boned, wanting a taste of the real stuff. Take the poison they call medicine, and they will taste your dying in your sweat, leaving you alone with time. Only their hunger for vengeance can overpower their hunger for flesh. The disease of the mind, still holding on to the diseased body. They will wait, surrounding you with laughter, their toothy grins dripping with sarcastic venom. Killing you will return them to their silent vigilance, decayed meat bumping into sky rises of glass and steel, rubbing against decaying meat. The dead have their own impotent pleasures, wound rubbing on wound, bone splintering on bone. Be quiet and keep still. They are attracted to rhythms and graceful movement. Mask and muffle, use saliva-drenched grunts to hide your words within. Do not dance, stagger. Let them sniff you if you've taken your medicine. They will not harm the dead or the dying. They will not consume their own, not because of some moral qualm. Morals are dead words for them, but because there is no nutrition in rotten meat.